Please welcome Jesse Redniss, Senior Vice President, Digital USA Network.
Hello, everybody. All right, here's for everybody that's sticking around this afternoon. Joining me on stage today, we have two beautiful, media-savvy, powerful women in media, which is fantastic to see and to hear. We have Pam Russo, who's the VP of Digital from Discovery Networks and TLC. And we have Grace Helbig from My Damn Channel and the Daily Grace Show. So, ladies, please join me on stage. Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Everyone looks so excited. Yeah, you made it. It's exciting.
It is exciting. All right, so we're at the end of the day here, and we've got a question, a little fan participation here. How many of you in the audience own a television? Yeah, it's pretty much everybody, right? Okay. How many of you watch live television? Yeah, a couple hands went down. And how many of you mostly watch DVR and VOD? Yeah. So there's something amazing that actually happened this weekend, and we were discussing it backstage, and we kind of wanted to kick off the conversation with this topic. This weekend, we had two major events happen. One of them was the Red Bull Stratosphere Jump, which I think brought in close to 8 million live concurrent viewers on YouTube. And 4.2 million viewers on Discovery.
Actually, about 8 million on Discovery.
Ooh, 8 million
Yes.
on Discovery.
Wow.
So 16 million total viewers.
Yep.
And then we had the Walking Dead premiere, which was about 11 million viewers overall, which was the #1 new premiere this year on cable or broadcast. So two totally different mediums, but two huge numbers. Why do you think that is?
I think for us, for Discovery Channel, we really made sure that we put social in ahead of this. So as we knew, we worked really closely with everybody that was handling Space Jump. For us, we started lighting up social before we even knew. Once they said, yes, it's a go, and we knew everything was going to happen, we made sure that we started the conversation for us on our Twitter handle and on Facebook prior to that. And I think, for us, we pushed people both to watching it on air and watching it online. And so it was really interesting to see the number, actually, even after we discussed it in the back, to be very equal between what we saw on linear TV and what we saw on YouTube as well as our own site. And I think it's because everybody shifted. You watch it where you are. It's Sunday afternoon. I would much rather be watching it on my mobile device than stuck at home in front of a television. But that's not something I'm going to watch on VOD or that I'm going to DVR and watch later. I want to be part of the conversation. I want to see it in real time.
Yeah.
I actually didn't watch it, but I was following Felix on Twitter as it was happening, and he was tweeting from space. That was enough to get me involved. It was amazing.
It was pretty amazing. So, one of the things that's amazing about it, too, is the sheer volume that it brought to Twitter. When I opened up Twitter, everyone was talking about it. There was nothing else happening in the world except for this jump. So you see that with a lot of live television. You see that with sports, and you see that with some reality. But you're not seeing that so much with some scripted programming. And you're not seeing that so much with some of the recorded program that goes up on YouTube. So how do you react to fans when you have a certain type of programming element that you're putting out there on television and on YouTube that may not be so timely and so driven by a live number?
How do I react to the fans?
Yeah, how do you react to that? Yeah.
Well, even though it's not live, the vlogs that I do, if you don't know, I do 5 days a week a daily vlog called Daily Grace, and it's all comedy based, and I shoot it out of my apartment in Brooklyn, and I edit it myself, and I post it, and it goes on YouTube and on mydamnchannel.com, and even though it's not live, you try to create as much engagement as possible with the people that are watching, and I do that by tweeting or Tumblring or Facebooking and asking them for advice or things that they'd want to see in the videos. So even though they might watch it 2 weeks later, maybe their comment was in that, it makes them feel like they were still part of it even though it wasn't happening at the time that they were watching it.
Yeah, we do a lot of that too. I think on Discovery, we do a lot of social reloads. So if we re-air a program and we had a lot of Twitter or social engagement around that program, whether it's Gold Rush or Moonshiners or even God help me, on TLC, Honey Boo Boo.
Love it, love it, love it, love it.
Which is actually a social phenomenon for us as a company. You know, people really like to feel like they're part of the show. They like individual hashtags. They like to have that moment where they're seeing what's going on and they're part of that conversation. So if we re-air a show and we have a social reload in it, we have a lot of people that will retweet after they see their tweet on air that was from a week ago. It's sort of a weird phenomenon. I think everybody likes their 15 minutes of fame, and this is one way to do it. So, and we also do a lot of live tweeting during our programs with talent. For us, you know, we have much more real life talent on Discovery, whether it's, you know, Todd Hoffman, who's one of the guys on our Gold Rush show, tweeting back and forth during the program to say this is what was happening at this point, or this is how this person handled this. We find that our fans really want to be engaged with our talent that way and with the program. And really, it is that theory of crowdsourcing. You know, I want to be part of that water cooler conversation. The water cooler now is just run off of your mobile device.
Yeah, so you're both really creating a two-way dialogue with your fan bases. So it's not just you're pushing messages to them, you're listening to them and pulling them back into your creative process. So let's talk about that creative process a little bit. We'd love to hear, because obviously there are going to be two different ways that you approach that creative process. Grace, how do you go about bringing in fan comments and participation into your show?
I use, like I said, I use Tumblr, which you all saw is a blog system that is great, highly recommend. And I use my Facebook page to ask people what they want to see in the next day's video, because I shoot all my videos the day before, so it's really timely. They feel, and I think that's part of why people like them, because they feel like they're with me in my apartment as I'm making this. It's very intimate. They feel like they're my friends. And because I'm commenting on their comments or using their recommendations, it's as if we're having a two-way conversation on a one-way street, in a way. And it's been so great. The interactivity has been wonderful, and the engagement because of that with the audience is fabulous. I now feel like they're this tiny little army that I could ask to do anything at any point, and they do it in the sweetest way possible.
That sounds evil.
Not if you talk like this with upward inflection.
So you, I believe you call them viewsers, correct?
Yeah, we call them viewsers. It originated because at first Daily Grace was only on MyDamnChannel.com, and now it's both on MyDamnChannel.com and YouTube. And a viewer was a user and a viewer at the same time. So they were using MyDamnChannel.com and viewing my content at the same time. So we just kind of combined the words, and people like it, and it gives them a specific community, or I hate to say label, but people that root for a certain sports team are called certain things, and so it gives them this like sub-community to consider themselves part of.
And the way that you're pulling them into your show, it's interesting, because you're actually pulling out basically their actual tweet to you or their actual Facebook post, showing it up on screen, giving them a shout out.
Yeah, and even with that, not always just in video, but on Facebook itself or on Twitter, responding to people or replying to their comments is enough to make someone freak out that you acknowledge them. TLC acknowledged that I did a video about Honey Boo Boo, and I freaked out, and I took a screen grab of it, and then I Instagrammed it. Talk about social media inception. It was great.
So in a lot of ways, your narrative story arc is their narrative story arc.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so Pam, what is your process for pulling actual fan participation in? Because it's very different from a corporate standpoint in the way we do some scripted programming.
Absolutely. You know, I think for us, we do know there are some, you know, look, we can poke fun at ourselves as a network just as much as anybody else can, or as a TV show. I think what's really interesting is we have a show on TLC called Breaking Amish, and it's about a group of young people who go on Rumspringa and watch it. It's fantastic and fascinating.
So good.
Well, you said Rumspringa.
I know.
Yeah.
Rumspringa.
Got that in. But you know what was interesting for us is we saw a lot of the Twitter conversation and a lot of the Facebook posts be around questions that people had about, you know, this world that they didn't know about. Was it real? Was it fake? Are these people really on Rumspringa? Are they? Did we set this up? And I think for us, we really became part of that conversation, and were able to in real time give the audience what they wanted. We, you know, put together a web series with the producers to explain a lot of the facts that people seem to have questions about. There were a lot of, believe it or not, some people that were former Amish that are no longer, you know, kind of got involved with the conversation, and we sort of floated them to the top to help them be our ambassadors. And I think, you know, I think that's the way we do it. I think the other way we do it is Discovery Channel is known for their nature programming. We do a lot of co-viewing apps where you're on your iPad and there's this app that's talking to your television for all intents and purposes and giving you more information on Winged Planet, maybe about the birds that you're seeing or the backstory with producers or bonus content. And you know, I think that's sort of where, I think for TV, that's where it's going. Maybe not for everyone, but wisely for certain demographics and certain people that are interested in more information and certain programs. I think it works really well.
So one of the things that was being discussed earlier in the day was the building of relationships and really what a relationship means. You know, human to human relationship and then computer to human relationship. And from a network standpoint, programming, since we're both telling stories here, you know, what do you feel you bring to the table from a relationship standpoint with your fan bases?
I think, you know, I think for programs where we know there's already a fan base, a show that's in its second or third season where we have a rabid fan base, you know, for us, it's giving them access to our talent, whether it's chatting on Facebook or having the talent retweet one of their tweets. I think that's what they really want. I mean, we know from all of our research that people want to be close to their fans or close to the talent. I think the other thing is, and this is something that's sort of new, I think, to the TV business, you could probably speak to it as well, just because you're a fan of a show and it goes off air at the end of the season, you don't stop being a fan of that show. And I think social and digital and a little bit of mobile and sort of video production, there's a way to bridge those seasons so that the fan is really served every single day, 52 weeks a year, not just while the show is in season. I think when you discount your fans and only serve them while it is in season, you're not really doing what they would want you to do, which is, you know, if you have people here who play fantasy football, you guys think about football all year round. Maybe there's 2 weeks of the year where you're not thinking about football. The other 50 weeks of the year, those NFL teams and NFL.com are doing a great job making sure that you know what's going on with your players. It's the same, I think, of television and how we work with our fans there.
And so, Grace, with you building relationships, you know, when I was watching a couple of your clips and your shows, you know, one of the biggest things for me was I was laughing pretty much the entire time. And in any relationship, if you can laugh, that's a great relationship.
Yeah.
So is that for you one of the biggest building blocks of a relationship for you?
Yeah, I think especially for any vlogger on YouTube, relationships with your fans is maybe the biggest part of it. You have to get them to trust you as a person and your points of view and where you're coming from as an individual, because they want to, like the TV shows that they watch, they want to relate to it in some way. And because it's so intimate, because I'm in my apartment, and they can see my dirty laundry, my mom has been on the vlog, like they feel like they really know my life, to the point that some fans have found my address. And so that's a little iffy, but flattering, maybe, I don't know. So building the relationship and staying true to your point of view and Daily Grace, the brand itself, is really, really important. Yeah, it keeps them coming back. They know they don't see right through you. They connect to you.
So if you were to have your choice between the Daily Grace being a television show and not having the connectedness that you do right now versus the way that you currently run your show, how would you move forward?
If Daily Grace was a television show, it would have to be very interactive. And there'd also have to be other YouTubers on the show as little Easter eggs, because the YouTube community is so strong and powerful. And it didn't exist when I was in high school, but it exists when all of these kids are in high school. This is how they're growing up. This is now becoming their television, is this computer screen or this mobile device. And so it would have to have some sort of interactivity that made it different than a regularly scripted show, whether it's me live tweeting while the show is happening or hosting some sort of live show after, which is why I think I'm a huge Bravo fan. I love the Real Housewives of everywhere. They are such amazing women. And but Andy Cohen does a live show for a half hour after the episode, and he has two fans on, and they talk about it. They take phone calls. There's a hashtag. They take tweets. And I think that's so smart, because you want to engage in that conversation. So it kind of, forces you even more to want to watch the show before so that you can be part of that conversation. Everyone just wants to be part of a community or a conversation.
Yeah, so Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, and out of that, I think spun out the Talking Dead, which is after The Walking Dead. And that in itself did a little over 2 million viewers, which is a phenomenal number for basically a socially charged talk show, after show.
Yeah.
It's great. So, the screen, does the screen matter? Does it really matter how you're looking at your shows? Or, for us being, the media conglomerates and the way business is being driven right now, the Nielsen number is kind of still the way that the business is being driven. But Grace, for you, it's not. So do you care who's watching from what device?
I really could care less as long as they're comfortable watching the show. That's all that matters, is if they want to watch it on their phones, if they want to watch it on their iPads, if they want to watch it on their computer, if they want to hook their computer to their television and watch it there, I encourage it. As long as they're watching, I'll take it.
Yeah. Pam?
Look, I think for Discovery Communications, we certainly want to engage and delight viewers wherever they want to watch our shows. But it is still a TV media company, I think, first and foremost. And we certainly do long form. We have mobile apps for almost all of our major channels. But I think, to your point earlier, there's a younger generation that never really sat down with a cable box or had to get up from the couch to turn the channel. God help us. But there are a lot of people. Even I work in the TV business, and I couldn't tell you sometimes what network or what time or what hour, what day shows are on. I just know that it's on my DVR or it's on VOD when I need it. And I don't think I'm alone in that. So I think it's making sure that you meet people exactly where they want, when they have that time, where they want to see it. If it's a mom sitting in a minivan and she's got an hour while she's waiting for her kids at soccer practice, we want to make sure she can see what she wants to see there, whether it's long form or short form.
Yeah, so very consumer centric.
Exactly.
Around their schedule when they can access it.
Yep. TV everywhere.
TV everywhere.
What a world.
So with TV everywhere, we see a lot of apps launching on a lot of connected TVs, and YouTube is being one of those apps that you can now find on Samsung TVs and the like. Have you seen yourself up on the big screen?
Yeah.
Through the YouTube app?
Yeah, it's very weird. It's very bizarre. But people also tweet me photos of them watching the vlogs on their television, which is very cool because it's convenient for them and comfortable for them. And it's very strange. It's like putting some mask over a woman and calling it a different lady. It's very weird.
Very nice. So how many people in the room here are familiar with the term social TV? So how many of the people do you think outside of this room and in the industry understand what the term social TV is? I'm going to tell you it's about zero. So the idea of social TV, it's not a concept that any, I think, network is putting out there on the consumer-facing side. I think many of us believe that social TV is becoming the way that we're interacting and engaging with our fan bases and building content on social networks, really building that two-way dialogue on these information highways that are out there. What are your thoughts on that? Do you really think that social TV is a huge phenomenon, or do you think it's just the passing through to get to just the way it's going to be in the next coming years?
I think it's definitely the latter. I mean, I think you're right. I don't think anybody outside of this room looks at a TV show, sees a hashtag and thinks, oh, that's social TV. They just think it's the way that everything is converged. I mean, even my parents who are in their mid-60s know what Twitter is, and they've used it. So, I think, right, it's a little frightening,
That's
but, and they've made videos and put them on YouTube. So
What?
I think, I think that's just sort of where it's going. So I think it's something we talk about, I think, on the business side of it, but I don't think for the average consumer, they look at it as social TV. I also don't think they look at it as time-shifting TV. I think it's just the way that people consume entertainment and consumer media now.
Yeah. So Grace, do you find that a lot of people consume your show as soon as you put it up, or is it a slow trickle effect?
There's a little bit of both. I put my videos up every morning, and because now there's a sense of trust between myself and the audience and a sense of reliability for content every day. If I'm ever late or I miss a day, God forbid, they let me know, and they let me know very aggressively. And but yeah, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. It's just so integrated into how they watch, but also there is like the trickle effect that people will leave me messages on Twitter or on Tumblr, or GIF images make these little rotating images on blogs from videos that I don't even remember myself making, and they're just getting to them now. And there's some kind of statistic that on average people consume about 5 episodes of Daily Grace at a time. And I get a lot of messages that people get into little K-holes where they start watching and then they watch them all. And yeah, so it's definitely both.
So for you, it's kind of a lot of long tail relationship building.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you see yourself putting up hashtags on your show, even though it's based off of YouTube and your own property?
Yeah, I would, definitely. And I see it on TV now all the time, that every show seems to have a hashtag in the corner, and they never call it out. It's just there. And it makes so much sense because, like you said, you don't think of it as like, oh, the internet and TV are merging. Because there's always been this question now of like, what's going to happen? Are they going to fight to the death, or are they going to hug and get married in some way? And it seems like they're starting to have a beautiful relationship that might lead to a full-time marriage, which would be crazy. I said once in a video, hashtag butts, but not as like asking them to do it. And so many people sent me hashtag butts. Totally meaningless, but they felt like they were part of something by doing that. And now I might sell some T-shirts that say hashtag butts.
Hashtag butts.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, on that hashtag butts, I think we're going to wrap up our panel here. Thank you guys so much for coming up.
Thank
and
you
sharing.
very much.
Jesse.
Thank you.
And I know you wanted to introduce Jermaine Dupri.
What's that?